Hey friends, today we're gonna be making a delicious ribeye steak sandwich with the chipotle shallot aioli as well as a creamy horseradish sauce. Let's get started. All right, so while our steaks are resting before we get them cooking, we're gonna put some of this nice smoky salt on there. And this is gonna give our steaks a nice smoky flavor. So I just sprinkle a little bit on there. And you do wanna do kind of a generous amount. And this actually helps the steaks bring some of that moisture onto the surface so you get a really nice sizzle on them. And it does have a bigger grain, so you're gonna wanna make sure that you kind of pat it onto the steak when you are done kind of sprinkling it on there. And it does give it a nice smoky flavor because it's a smoked salt, so it has been in a smoker. All right, and now we're gonna let those rest, and while we let those rest, let's make our sauces. At this point, we're gonna make our creamy horseradish sauce, so you really only need 3 ingredients for that. That's gonna be your horseradish, your sour cream, or in my case, I'm using crema, which is Mexican sour cream. I like using that more because it gives it a saltier flavor already without having to add any salt, and then some chives. I like to do a generous portion of my horseradish just because I like it a lot spicier. And then we'll go in with our crema. I got these really beautiful chives. And I like a generous portion of chives in there because it gives the sauce itself a really, really fresh taste. It might get a little messy, that's okay. You're gonna wanna make sure you get everything really nice and mixed in and evenly spread out. You don't want your sauce to be too spicy or too mayo-y, or too like sour creamy. And you wanna make sure you get those chives in every bite because they're gonna add a lot of freshness to the sandwich. You know, after giving this a taste, I realized that I could probably use a tiny bit more horseradish. I like things a little bit spicier. I like that horseradish flavor on my sandwiches and with my steak. So I'm gonna go in with a tiny bit more. I don't want it to be too overbearing though, so not gonna use that much more, just a tiny bit more. And give that a mix and one more taste. Oh yeah, way better. Way better the second time. All right, for our shallot sauce. So this obviously has a base of shallots. So I'm starting off with 6 shallots. If you're really only making 1 sandwich, you don't need this many. I am gonna be making 2 sandwiches today, so I wanna make sure that I have enough sauce to feed everybody. And you gotta remember that when shallots cook, they do tend to shrink. So we wanna make sure that we have enough shallot in there so that you can really tell that it's a shallot sauce. So we'll get started by chopping up our shallots. And then we're gonna take our roughly chopped shallots and put them on in there. We wanna make sure to cook these low and slow so that they end up giving us that beautiful shallot flavor. They get a little bit sweet, and that's what's really gonna bring a lot of life into our aioli. All right, so we've been preheating our pan so that we can grill the steaks. It's really important to get your pan really hot first so that you don't end up burning the butter, because we're gonna throw the butter in, the butter's gonna melt, and then we're gonna put the steaks on. So now that our pan is really hot, let's throw our butter in. It will instantly start sizzling. And I'm using a whole stick of butter because we're doing 2 steaks, so we need a lot of butter, and this pan is pretty deep, has a lot of ridges. So you wanna make sure that we are getting a really good coat of butter all over the pan. All right, it's time to lay our steaks in. There's 1. And 2. It's been 3 minutes, it's time to flip our steaks. You really wanna make sure that you only flip your steak once, because other than that, you end up getting kind of dries it out a little bit. So just give that 1 good flip. There we go. And then we're gonna add our garlic and our thyme, and then we're gonna baste these steaks. That way, all of that really good flavor gets developed into the steak as it cooks on the other side. Some smashed garlic. Some fresh thyme. And then we're gonna lean the pan over this way so the butter gets on it and we can start basting in this beautiful, beautiful sauce. Once your steaks are done, we can take them off the heat and you wanna put them on a cutting board or something because we're gonna wanna let them rest for at least 5 to 10 minutes. And while we're doing that, we can get into our sauce. Now that our shallots have caramelized, they are this beautiful brown color. You can see that we've lost a lot of the volume of them as they cook down, which is great because that's exactly what we wanted. So we'll add them to our bowl. And then we're gonna go in with our mayo. So the mayo, you don't want too much of it because you still want it to keep that shallot flavor. You want just enough of it so it makes a really nice spread. And because this is a chipotle shallot aioli, we're gonna go in with our ground up chipotles. Now these are just chipotles in adobo. You can find them in a little can at your grocery store. We're gonna go in with just a scoop of that. It does bring a little bit of heat, so I would say less is more again with this, just because you don't want the heat overpowering your sauce and that chipotle flavor to overpower your sauce. But this is also gonna bring a really nice smoky element to this aioli itself. So I'm just gonna go in with a tiny scoop here. Maybe a tiny bit more. And then we're gonna mix it on up. All right, let's assemble our sandwich. Our steaks have been resting for about 5 to 10 minutes, so let's give them a good chop because this is gonna be a sliced steak sandwich, and we're gonna wanna make sure that we're cutting against the grain here. And you're gonna wanna cut at a tiny bit of an angle. And let's see. Ah, beautiful. I really wanted it a medium, and that looks like a really good medium to me. My secret ingredient to these steak sandwiches is starting off with a little layer of bone marrow. It brings such a depth and great flavor to the steak sandwiches. It's a little bit beefier, a little bit fatty. It's so good, and if you're interested in learning how to make the bone marrow, we did it a few episodes ago, so go check it out. All right, we're gonna start assembling. We're gonna use the bone marrow first, and that's gonna go under our chipotle aioli. Look at how beautiful that is. Next, our chipotle aioli. And on the other side, we're gonna go in with our creamy horseradish with that chive. All right, time to layer on our steak. And of course, we need some greens in there, so we're gonna top it off with a little bit of arugula. Chop this baby in half. And there you have it, a beautiful steak sandwich. Ready to dig in? Let's dig in. Oh man, that is a great steak sandwich. I know I say that about everything I make, but this is a really good steak sandwich.